The spirit world is more real. The spirit world is more real than most of us believe. The spirit world is more real.
To flow without a purpose is unreal to me. The spirit world is my reality. Miracle whipping when I'm gripping the mic. Wake the living dead with new meanings to life.
Peace. My name is Brother Chris. Formerly, still Moo Productions and Eye Opener Productions. I'm here today to bring you a video of two brothers who I hold in high esteem. 20 plus years ago, I did a video along with Blue Pill, Brother Shabazz, Brother Black Dot, called One Up on the Frequency, featuring Dr. Phil Valentine in my house. We interviewed him, this is probably what, 06, 07, somewhere around there?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So 20 years ago. And I asked Blue Pill back then to interview him because people don't understand, beyond the metaphysics and the occult stuff and the conscious community, first and foremost, he's a journalist. And I met Blue being a journalist. He's a writer. He was writing for a hip-hop newspaper called Four Corners in Brooklyn back then. And he was a highly esteemed writer, not to use that word again, but he was one of the best writers in Black Dot. So, still is. So I asked him to do the interview with Phil Valentine. We did One Up on the Frequency, part 1 and part 2. 20 years later, I'm asking, Spirit told me to get another production of that, similar in that format, but to have Brother Oba, whom I hold in high regards, because not only is he my god brother, but he's also a Oriate. He wears many hats in the African spiritual community, the Lukumi and the Palo community. So there have been many misconceptions on social media, on YouTube, and just in the community overall about what people do with Orisha, what people say, and they have it all wrong. So setting the record straight is what I'm calling this today, in the spirit of One Up on the Frequency. So Brother Oba, he's going to explain who he is, and we're going to start this interview. But I just wanted to give the preface for this interview, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
Peace to you and yours, Brother Blue, reporting live and direct to you. We are here for another installment of a very historical series, okay? One Up on a Frequency. This is the 20-year anniversary of a legendary series that we started, right? And today's presentation, today's episode, right, is titled Setting the Record Straight. And none other than my brother, than your brother, this brother sitting beside me, is qualified to set the record straight. We introduce to you Brother Oba. Peace,
brother. What's going on?
Indeed.
How you doing?
All is well. We are here for another historic taping, right, of a historic series, and we are dealing with a historic topic. Okay, spirituality in the melanated community by way of consciousness, right? Some people might hear that and think that they know the backdrop. Some people might think that they know the history. I thought that I knew the history, only to be informed that I only knew fragments of it. And my wholehearted, not belief, but understanding is that it's very hard for somebody to defend what they don't understand the totality of, right? So rather than hyper-focalizing on the many infractions that we have seen, across, whether it be the internet or in the physical realms and the worlds or what have you, I rather would spend time dealing with foundation. I rather would deal with, the things that people may not know or may have overlooked in order to establish why something should be respected or revered, right? So in the spirit of repairing, in the spirit of reestablishing a reintroduction, if you will, I want you to start by introducing yourself, and then I want you to, tell the people exactly what is Ifa / Orisha.
Okay. Indeed.
Well, my name is Oba Off. I am a third generation practitioner of Lukumi traditions that were propagated first in Cuba.
Yes.
My family has been involved in these traditions since 1968.
Okay.
It's quite some time. Yes, in 1968, my uncle attended uh, a New Black African conference in Philadelphia, and it was a brother by the name of Umar Ahmad, and they were putting together this event, a Black Power event,
Mm-hmm.
and Surgeon Adefumi, Walter King, did a lecture, and he said that Vodun was the true religion of the black man.
Mm.
And my uncle, who at the time might have been 19, he heard this and he said it was most profound. He had never heard anything like this.
Indeed.
And so he went and did his research, and to big up the great scholar Sheikh Anta Diop,
Yes.
right? He read was Civilization or Barbarism,
Mm-hmm.
and then he began to become entrenched in that, so that he started to study about the Africans of West Africa, and he noticed that they were very close to what he would experience when he went to South Carolina every summer.
Mm. Okay.
So one day he said he had to get change for the train. This is in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And he went into a bookstore and he saw a man dressed in all white. His name was Adeo C. He was a priest of Obatala. He was a hunchback, a legitimate hunchback.
Mm.
And my uncle went into the store and walked up to him. He says, "I want to do what you do." He said to my uncle, "What's that?" He said, "Wear beads in white." And so Adeo C took my uncle on Palm Sunday of 1970, and he took two of my uncles, and he gave them a reading, and they received their first preliminary initiations, which was their beads, their lekes. They came home that day, and my grandmother was in the kitchen, and this is from my grandmother's account. She said she was chopping onions, and she felt something, and she turned around, and she almost passed out. And my uncles were standing there in all white with their beads. And my uncle said, "Mama, we Africans now." 2 weeks later, my grandmother had beads, right? So God bless my grandmother, because she was a very humble person for someone to follow their children looking for God.
And prior to this, her spiritual discipline may have been.
Well, she was born Catholic.
Okay.
She was born Catholic in Baton Rouge. Well, she was born in Ohio, but she grew up in Baton Rouge and in the third ward of Houston. At the time, I think they called it a bucket of blood. So my grandmother followed her children to these traditions. So in 1979, my grandmother made Obatala by the hands of Lloyd Weaver, Olosumi. He's an Oni Yemonja, priest of Yemonja, who is, for all intents and purposes, is the benevolent father of Nollywood. So in the 1980s, Lloyd Weaver moved out to Nigeria, to Lagos, because he worked for CBS at the time, and they wouldn't let a black man advance. And so some friends of his told him to come out to Nigeria, and he went out to Nigeria, and they created the blueprint for television in Nigeria, right? So they had the corporation called the Serengeti Productions. He was very involved in Nigerian politics. He had raised two children there for 35 years. But this is my mother's godfather, who started one of the most prolific African-American houses of Orisha in the United States, Ile Ashe. Him and his wife, who's passed away, they both passed away now, but his wife, Stephanie Weaver, who made Obatala. We're talking about people who made Orisha in the early 1970s, right? When the only options for religion for a black man were Muhammad or Jesus. Okay. I've had even older elders. I have an elder who I have a picture on the wall. Her name was Beatrice Adderley. She made Orisha in Puerto Rico in 1965. You have to think about Malcolm was still alive. Martin was still alive, right? And this woman was following African traditions and aesthetics, right? In 1965, in order to wear all white, she used to have to go to the nurses' uniforms and wear nurses' uniforms.
So, what would be the earliest observance or evidence of African traditional systems being practiced over here in a consecrated house, organized religion,
Well,
or organized traditions?
historically, the first African Americans to be initiated into Lukumi traditions happened in 1959.
Mm.
1959, Osurgimen Adefumi, Cristobal Oleana, and then several months later, Edward James and a woman by the name of Marie. I haven't gotten her last name. These people were the propagators of all of this. They were the first ones that brought these traditions to the United States. Word is from Cuba.
Okay.
So the word is that
By way of Cuba, by way of
okay. So let's start from the very beginning.
Yes,
all of this start with Zora Neale Hurston.
Yes. Let's get to that.
So Zora Neale Hurston went to university as a mature woman. She procured a grant to interview the last bit of living slaves in the Delta.
Yes.
This was all propagated or sponsored by her reading this book called Folklore and Superstitions of the Southern Negro.
Yes.
From that book, she procured a grant to go and do this ethnographic work and get these people to tell these stories.
Yes. Yes.
At the same time, Catherine Dunham, a dancer, procured a grant to go to Haiti to do diasporic traditions. Zora and her went on that trip together. From that, we have Catherine's dance class, which produced Osurgimen Adefumi. Now, Osurgimen Adefumi met Cristobal Oleana because Cristobal Oleana was half Cuban and his mother, or one of his parents, was from Curacao.
Curacao, right.
Okay. He used to dance rumba, and rumba is a particular folk dance that they do in Cuba, right? So they used to have competitions in the early 40s, because there was a wave of Cubans that moved to the United States, to New York particularly, which would be Washington Heights. Before there was Dominicans there was Cubans there.
Right.
So Cristobal used to dance rumba, and he won a contest and a trip to Havana to compete in Havana. When he went to Havana afterwards, after competing, some of the people were like, "Yo, come with us to this party." But he didn't know it was a religious party. So he went to his first drumming, and when he got to the drumming, they told him, "You'll be back." So he comes back to the United States. So the word is that at the time, when Catherine Dunham came back, she came back with Vodun traditions first. And Osurgimen started the House of Dambala.
Dambala.
Yes.
Right.
So they were trying to get into the Haitian thing, but the Haitians were very quiet-lipped. So they said, this is a folk tale, and they was telling me by my elders. They said that there was a day that they had the Hogan and they had the Santero, and they gave both of them a rooster. And they told the one that can make the rooster sit still is the one that they was going to follow. And they said the Santero said something to the rooster, and the rooster laid down, and the Hogan couldn't get the rooster. It was running around, they was chasing it, and they said, well, we're going off to Cuba. So by way of Cristobal Oleana, he had told Surgiman, listen, there's these Cubans that's doing this African thing over there. So when they went in 1959, was right before the revolution had popped off. They brought these traditions back, and then the Cubans began to flee. Because there were Cubans here, and they weren't really practicing because it was very secretive at that time. Because even in Cuba, they went through a lot of oppression and suppression with the traditions. So when the Cubans came to the United States, they were very secret. In contrast to Osurgimen, who was on the television show Killing a Goat on 125th Street, right? Because the first Yoruba temple used to be on 125th. So the Cubans had a problem with him because they thought
125th and what?
I want to say what's the next block after Park? What's that? Madison?
Madison.
Yeah. They used to have a temple there. So they went to Cuba, they brought the traditions back, And then the Cubans began to be more open with them and starting to give them the traditions. Okay, so like I said, this all goes back to Zora Neale Hurston, right? So if you go back and you read the Oswald and God, she talks about her initiation into Congo traditions when they put an incision of a lightning bolt on her back for Insasi, right? The lightning god. She talks about how she was taught by one of Marie Laveau's descendants, who said that Marie Laveau was taught by High John the Conqueror. Okay. So like, do people hear me on some of my social media? I'm very abrasive. So I say stupid shit like hoodoo is doodoo, and it's not that I'm trying to break down that tradition, but in the 1950s, Zora Neale Hurston said that hoodoo was dying because there were no more two-headed doctors. And the two-headed doctor was the head of the ceremony in hoodoo, and that's who performed the animal sacrifice.
Right.
So by the 1950s, the two-headed doctors were gone. Whatever remnants of hoodoo people are practicing today is novelty, right? Because again, you have to put in 40,000 hours.
Right. So in comparison, like an Ifa, you would have to have a hand of Ifa in order to be consecrated to do certain ceremonies.
No, so Ifa.
No, I'm just saying. I'm trying to use a comparison.
You have to have some sort of initiation,
right? For there to be a two-headed doctor, you would have to be initiated and consecrated to be able to perform
these rituals.
Ritual,
exactly,
and that has not been passed on.
No, not since the 1950s. In the 1950s, there's actual literal conversation or literal reports where Zora Neale Hurston talked about the fact that when her informants informed her that there were no more two-headed doctors, and this was in the 1950s, right? Because what people have to go back and understand historically is that during the Reconstruction era, the white boy was afraid because the slaves have all of the skills. So he started to create these trade unions, right? Or these craft unions. So in order for the black man to get in, he had to have paperwork. He had to have a birth certificate. Most slaves had no birth certificate. So the only other...
So that was their barrier to entry.
Yeah, but the only other representation that they can do, which is still viable today, is your baptism paper. You could go to any church in America today without a piece of paper, without a picture, and say your name is John somebody, and they will baptize you, and that you could take that paper and take it to the DMV, and they will acknowledge it as a real document.
Wow.
So what happened was the slaves, they couldn't practice their tradition because they would blackball you. So you don't come to church, you don't get a job. I hear you still healing women with them chicken foots and all that. We're gonna starve you, right? And this is what they did to the Native Americans. The Native Americans, they starved them. They killed off all of their game, and there was nothing left for them to eat. Yes. So you got to come deal with Uncle Sam now, right?
Yeah, they did that with the bison.
Okay, so they did that to Africans in the early days so that they began to give up their traditions because there was no way to feed your children.
Right. Yeah, I want to zero in on that just to show that they've been weaponizing food since day one. They always weaponize access to food. You know what I'm saying? So please continue, because we see it today.
So in regard to that, these traditions, we don't believe in communism, but we believe in Susuism, right? So when you come to my tradition, if it's my anniversary, I cook food, I got fruits, and people come, right? And there's a basket with a donation in it. Now, it is custom to fold it up, kiss it, make the sign of the cross, you put it in there. You put $1.05 in there, nobody asks how much you put in there. You hungry? Get another plate of food. When you finish, I got some fruit for you, even some sweets. And one of these people in here may be spiritual enough to figure out what you're going through and give you a solution, or you are networking with somebody and somebody in here got a job for you. But nobody's turned away because everybody pays the same. So if I put a $20 in there, it's the same as he who put $1 in, right? So now, effectively, if in this neighborhood, everybody was made on a different day, I don't got to cook today. I could go to your house and eat. And then tomorrow, this person's house and this person's house, and that's socio-economics.
Right.
Because the community is feeding each other. So when we have these traditions, food is the staple of everything.
You bring some priests to your house and they do some work, there better be some food for them. Because you have to break bread. Now, breaking bread is not explained.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking bread says, I have a loaf of bread, I give you part, and you can take as much as you like. Sliced bread is only sliced in the prison and in the military. So we have a saying that the bread don't get cut with a knife because it didn't do anything. So the concept of breaking bread says that I give you as much as you can handle and take. Right? That's the reciprocity in that. We breaking bread. No, it's just not about that. It says that I allow you to eat as much as you like. Right? There is no limit. Only in the military and in the jail do they cut the bread. You only get this much. Right? And so you talk to dudes that have been in prison, they tell you if you get too big, they'll put you on the bread, they'll take you off and put you on the bread diet, right? So breaking bread, this tradition is made for communalism.
Yes.
Right? So that everybody, so when we're doing these initiations, so there's a conversation about, I see people online now leaving the tradition, right? Because they got on and jumped on the bandwagon. They said, oh, well, this tradition is always, it's negotiable. It's always some type of transactional, right? Well, guess what? The Yoruba believe that the world is transactional. The world is a giant market as far as they're concerned. And in the market, people are stealing, lying, pickpocketing. Some people are honest, some people are not. But this is all happening in the market.
I can relate. Right.
So we have a saying that you pay to keep death away. Right? So yes, it's transactional because that is the concept of the West African. So this is why if you go into a West African market and you let them sell anything to you, they don't respect you because you don't have no haggling in you. Because it's about the market. Nah, how much? I ain't paying that. I'm going next door. No, come back, brother. Right? If they don't respect you, if you go in that market and they say $7 and you pay $7, he goes whistle. We got one.
You're marked.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you ain't fighting for nothing.
You ain't haggling.
You ain't haggling.
Yeah.
You understand? So transaction.
Bargaining at the market.
Exactly. Like, so now when you get initiated, somebody brings me.
Because it says something about your psychology. For the most part.
You're lazy.
You're lazy, right. There's all of these vendors that are selling the same thing. See who has the best price. Make relations, right? Your needs and wants open doors for you, right? So, yeah, why would you go with the first thing? Whereas someone could say, well, you know, I'm strategic with my time, and if I saw what I want and qualified, then I'm going to pay. You're more like a Westerner, and they'll treat you.
Well, this is it's so okay. As human beings, before as hunter gatherers, if you was not up to par, we leave you, we keep it moving because you're not up to par. So as human beings, as we civilize and we change those ways, we bring it to the market.
Right.
So you can't fight for yourself, then you ain't worth nothing. You just a waste because you in the way. Because it's like the circulatory system or any system. It got to have movement. If it's stagnant, it don't work. So when you come and get initiated, you come and somebody tell you it costs you $10,000. They give me the $10,000, right? First person I take the $10,000 to is the seamstress. Somebody gotta make your clothes. Then I gotta take it to the cook because somebody gonna cook for a certain amount of days for you, right? Then I gotta take it to the master of ceremonies. Then I gotta take it to the priest who gonna come and spend their time on a Saturday to come and do this ceremony. I gotta give it to the person whose house we gonna rent, right? I gotta give money to the person at the animal place. I gotta give money to the herb guy. It's industry. I take that money and it goes to the community. And the community puts back into you. So this ceremony that they have with you sitting on this throne was a psychological ops that the Africans created because they said the king sold us here. So we don't got no allegiance to nothing. But every weekend, we're going to pick one or two of the Africans and we're going to put them on the throne and they're going to be the king and queen for the day. Right? So that you see that same culture in the baby shower. She's sitting in the chair. Everybody put money on her because she's bringing a new life into the thing.
Nigerian.
Okay.
$10 on
exactly. These are our African ways that we never lost.
Right.
You understand? So these traditions are meant to be communal, right? So what we're doing today is just the groundwork. It's like the beginning of the seed, right? Because the people are online, they think they're telling us secrets and they think they're this and that, and they're self-professing themselves. And all that will end at some point when we get to cutting the fat. And then we'll get to the people where there's be communities. Because this thing don't work unless you live in communities. So it works in Cuba because they all live on the same block.
Right.
Come outside, hey, Godson, come here. Let me help come
Right.
and do something.
So this is a tradition for community building, because you can't nation build without community. You explain it so expertly in terms of what's a family qualifies as a clan, what is clan qualified as
To a
tribe,
tribe.
what is tribe
Qualifies
qualified
to a
as
nation.
what is nation qualify,
Right?
right? So this is for communal living. This is not for the individual, but for the
No.
individual looking to build around
No.
family
No.
and
This
community.
is family. So it teaches you first, it's a rites of passage. Because we've been stripped of that. What rites of passage does is it gives the community ability to evaluate you, so that I don't put too much burden on you because you're not built like that. You understand? We used to do these things so that when we get to our, even in our society today, you have people involved in things that they're not built for, right? So in this evaluation, I see what you made up. Okay, so now I know where to put you at on the board. Okay, so now this rites of passage that you're going through, it allows you to psychologically feel like magistry for a moment, because for those 7 days you are the king. They're gonna feed you, they're gonna bathe you, right? Whatever you like to eat, it's all of that because you have to have that psychological operation in your head. And so the reason that they dress the people like the in those gaudy clothes is to imitate the overseer.
Okay.
So the guy on the horse in the colonial Spanish times, he got these big puffy, you know what I'm saying, shoulders. So they did that so that you would see yourself in elegance and you would believe yourself to be a king or a queen, and hence not allow anyone to violate that, your majesty, right? So it was a psychological upliftment, and it requires the community, because the community is there to necessarily decide whether or not you're good at whatever it is that you do. You understand? So you come into the tradition, you could be a cook, you could be a master of ceremonies, you could be a godparent, you could be a drummer, you could be a singer, you could be somebody that gets possessed. There's all these different positions for you to find. And so the tradition finds it, the divination is there for your godparents to help you figure out which one of these things that you're going to be good at as a craft that participates in the whole. You understand? There it is.
Yes. Wow. How does one orientate such a system that's built around community, and community is built around, for the most part, sharing and caring, open door policies, loving and trusting, right? With a fractured community such as the one that we belong to, with a community that's so, backstabbing and backbiting and, all of the things that we may know exist in the communities that we call home, or these hoods that are not necessarily neighborhoods or home, right? How does one go about finding qualified participants, you know what I'm saying, in a sea of all of this confusion? Is this a tradition that calls you to it, or is this something that people did a search and find along the way?
It's both. So you have some people who find this because of health issues. They've gone to the doctor, they're finding some, they're willing to try anything, right? You have some people that find by way of cultural avenues, right?
Right.
But it's important. So what it does, first thing we have to go back is to ancestral veneration. So we won't have the ills of in our community if our soldiers are equipped with intuition, clairvoyance, and these different things, right? That is what is lost. The grandmothers and that's not just them, even the grandfathers, right? That intuition to pick up on negative energy. Nah, he don't look so good. Nah, you can't go with him today, right? You need to be able to have that to avoid tragedy. That comes by way of ancestral veneration. So unfortunately, if we go to the projects today and you ask Daquan, who's your great grandmother? He'd be like, Nana. He ain't got no name for her. You ask them, where your people from? Brownsville. Nah, son, they didn't come from Brownsville. They came from someplace else. That connection, that memory. So we were talking earlier about memory.
Yes.
Memory is the thing that connects the spiritual world to the physical world, just like a computer.
Mm-hmm.
If you forget about somebody, then they don't exist.
That part.
Right? So
Right. You don't
I
speak
give you
their
an
name.
example. My cousin, I went to school. He went to Wacy Shule with me, right? And there was a guy that was in his class that had graduated before I came along. But I knew him, but I just didn't know him like my cousin knew him because my cousin is older. So I'm asking him, I'm like, oh, you remember bro? He's like, who are you talking about? He's like, I don't even know who you're talking about. And I couldn't get his name. So I sent one of my spirits who happened to have a connection because he went to the school with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yo, Juicy, find his name. And one morning I woke up and he whispered in my ear, Ronald. The first thing I did was call my cousin. I'm talking about early in the morning, the crack.
Mm-hmm.
All I said to my cousin was Ronald. He said, oh shit, you just opened my whole brain up. I forgot about that kid. Oh shit, son, you just opened up a whole part of my brain. I forgot about this guy.
Right.
Because his life was significant because he played a part in your life. You interacted with him.
Mm-hmm.
And with him is a bunch of memories, which connected you to him. So the memory has to.
So you open the door and that door shines light.
Absolutely. It lifts him up like the movie Coco where he can't get nothing because nobody remembers him.
Right. You gotta, and African traditions, they say the reverence of the name, the mentioning of, they said that they have two separate abodes for ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
One with names that are forgotten, that you're not spoken of, you don't exist. And then they have the one where names are spoken of,
so now,
come to the forefront.
with those names, so Yorubas are good with that because they named their children Babatunde. He came back. Right? So they're going to keep that name going. We've lost that. So like part of us in our zealousness in being African and being Black power, we got rid of our names of our ancestors. The Gertrudes, the Essies, the Animes. Those names mean something. They have a lineage to them and a memory to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that one of my cousins, so my uncle is Jonathan Michael Robinson II. My grandfather is Jonathan Michael Robinson I. My cousin is Jonathan Michael Robinson III, right? But his brother is named Ellison, and Ellison was Jonathan Michael I's father. Mm-hmm. You understand? So my uncle named his son his grandfather so that name would continue, so that he's not forgotten, right? So now we're talking about memory. Memory is the same thing with the computer. The computer don't run without memory. So this goes into why we perform rituals, because those dead people, they have a memory. So when they see us perform a certain ritual, they remember that ritual. It reminds them, I remember that. So when we have certain rituals and what we perform in the ritual is an indication to that which is observing us that something needs to change, that we're looking for a change in environment.
Right.
Feel me? So that's all memory.
So it's petition through repetition.
Absolutely. So memory, like I said, if you believe in Jesus Christ, if you believe in Honorable Muhammad, right? Peace be upon him.
Right.
If you believe in Abraham, if you believe they lived and died, they're all ancestors.
So that's all ancestral worship.
It's all ancestral worship. If you believe in astrology, them stars is dead. That's ancestral worship. Ain't nothing else to talk about. So don't tell me, oh, I don't worship my ancestors. Yes, you do. You look at them stars, whatever it is that you paying attention, that shit been here before you. You asking that shit, how what I'm supposed to do. So it'd be like, don't tell me about, because a lot of these things, so the same thing with religious regalia.
Right.
You was born naked. God ain't send no wardrobe bag with you. When you talking about I gotta wear this for God to recognize me, that's not possible. Because if he wanted you to have those clothes, he'd have sent you with him.
Right.
Like Superman. Superman came with his clothes, right?
With to play the I can't even use that word in this conversation. But what about tribal markings and things of that nature, scarifications, things that you earn along your journey and your passes that they say become indicators and markers to, an observant creator that's saying, okay, I know my children by their markings per se.
Nah, that's just for us.
Okay.
Those markings are for me to figure out whether or not you have the qualifications to come in this room or not for God. God don't need that. God sees straight through you. So there's no regalia that you require to walk into any holy place. Just make sure that your feet is clean. Don't be walking up in God's house with no dirty feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Because you were born naked. God didn't send no clothes with you. Clothes is a man-made. This is a part of etiquette, right? So when we talk about morality and different things,
right,
your morality is controlled by your mortality. So if I live in a tribe and it's a small group of people, it's 60 of us, and the young girl begins to menstruate, that means that she's ready for copulation. Let's play ball because I need more people for the mortality of my group. So when you look at the 10 commandments, right, they're all about mortality. So thou shalt not kill. Well, that's less people for the tribe. For if the flood comes and we need people to put the sandbags, there's less people. Don't do that. Thou shalt not steal. Well, if you steal from him, he gonna find you. He gonna want to get into some gangster business, and then somebody gonna die. You sleep with his wife. He gonna want some drama, which is gonna lead to violence. So that we have a saying in Odu. It says, arguments turn to fights, and fights turn into tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So these moralities are based on you not killing nobody, which is advantageous or disadvantageous to the group. Outside of that, because God don't care about none of that. God is indifferent to it. Because there's as many cells that are born and die inside you, you would know. We're from the same way God don't care. Because God is the receptacle of all things. Right? So that people have to really start to really investigate the idea of omnipresence and omnipotence. God is indifferent to all of this. That's not what we're not here to deal with that. We're here to deal with the cycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the cycles. And I don't want to use karma because that's a different religion.
Right.
So we're talking about cycles. What come around will go around. So if you do something, so if you decide to be anything, if you decide to be a tyrant, you have to make up the decision that somebody's going to creep in and pop you in the back of your head one day. That is a real reality, and you have to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
So that if I say that you got a choice, right? I say, Blue, I got water, I got milk, I got juice, I got soda, I got beer, I got alcohol. What's your choice? There ain't no wrong choice. It's up to you whether or not you decide how you approach them. Right? So if you say, I want the beer, you drink the beer, and then it wasn't good for you, well, that's it. You got it all. Right? So the smart man, let me taste the water. Let me taste the milk. You're going to taste all of them. Right? But the smartest man is the man that comes to see me and get a divination to tell him which one is the best for him. Because your choice is your choice. There's no wrong in it. Right? So the water, I could drink the water. It's good for me, but does it have any taste to it? Not really. The milk, it tastes good, but I'm going to suffer from it later. My stomach going to get the bubbling, and I'm going to be more thirsty. The juice, it tastes great, but it's going to make me more thirsty. The soda, it's popping. I put it in my mouth. It got all the bubbles, and it's all great, but I'm going to be more thirsty afterwards. The beer, yeah, I'm going to have a good time. It's going to be fun until I start to fall down on myself, right? And the alcohol, the same thing. I'm going to have a great time. But the effects afterwards, I'm going to have to deal with. You understand? So it's you decide to pick a life of criminality, it's a short road. It's going to be a lot of lights. It's going to be dancing girls walking down the street. Everything will be violence. But it's a short street. You ain't going to be on that shit long. And if you decide on that, that's good for you. You can go out like that. You want to be on a t-shirt? Knock yourself out. But own it. Don't get in there and then you was in the ER and they didn't kill you. You like, oh, mama, help me. No, you chose that. So you got to go with it. And that's with everything. So if whatever it is that you put yourself in, you have that choice. But it's be smart to go and get an assessment to see which one is best for you. And that's what divination adds for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that, because they say destiny, but they're using these words that don't really apply to these things, because destiny refers to something being set in stone. What Ifa does is give you possibilities. I can move this 0 over here and put a 1 there and put this 0 over here for you. But one day you're going to come and I ain't going to be able to move nothing because it's all fixed already. And you're going to have to deal with the circumstances that you're dealing with. You understand?
Right. So there's fixed things, and then there's things that are mutable based on,
Certainly.
you know, decisions that one makes.
The universe is not
choices.
uniform. It's not uniform. It is a collage of possibilities. Because in our tradition, we have Eshu. And Eshu is not the devil.
Mm-hmm.
It is just that which can happen. We've learned to pay or feed him and keep him busy while we're doing what we're trying to do, so that he don't thwart what we're doing. You understand? So it's understanding that you're not going to get rid of the bully. Pay him. Give him something. Get him out of here. Right? If you want to, oh no, ain't nothing. They're going to shake you upside down and take it anyway. So give it to him and get him out of here. So this is, again, transactional. I pay to keep death away. Right? When black people understand that and stop with this, oh, I'm going to be a poor righteous teacher. No, sir. You got to get to hustling, because the universe is about movement. So if you're not moving, you dead, right? So we have this thing about, we cover our heads when we pass the cemetery because of the hawk or the vulture, right? They say if you sitting still, the vulture come down and get you. But if you're moving, the vulture ain't going to bother you. So you better keep moving. Don't be sitting around, oh, the vulture going to come get you because you're sitting still and then thinks, oh, you dead, huh? So you got to keep moving. You understand? And so we perform these things as an allegory, but also as a memory. So that I'm saying to myself, so there was a guy, Ibrahim brother, his name was Naba. He was from the Dogon. He was a priest. Okay.
Naba, Master Naba.
Okay, right. Naba said, when I speak my language, you don't understand it. It ain't for you. It's for your DNA, so that when you have children and it gets into their DNA, when I speak it, they will understand me. You feel me? So you have to think beyond. So, and that's the thing. We think for now. Our competitors, the pilgrim, he thinks 100 years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks 500 years ahead, because we're not thinking like that, because we don't understand the dynamics of our life cycle. That you come back.
Mm-hmm.
You come back, so they say, you plant a seed to a tree that you will never be under the shade of.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't going to stop you from planting it.
Mm-mm.
So you plant it so that when you come back in the future, shade of there. You pay it forward. And so these traditions, so this is why when you see all of these people, right? Because, not for nothing, you're welcome, right? Because before I showed up, they weren't talking about spirituality. They weren't talking about spirituality. They were trying to sell everybody Ifa and Palo Mayombe and all that. I was like, nah, a glass of water and a candle gonna save your life.
Now, so I need you, because, you know, we opened up this conversation and I asked you to establish the difference between the two. And now you're saying that there's something that you introduced is totally different from that. So for clarity purposes, can you explain what each is and where their origins are from and what their differences are?
So we're going to set the record straight.
Yes.
So when the slaves, in Africa, because we've said, we've established that ancestral veneration is foundation, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So we established that. So the African that is taken away from his home,
mm-hmm.
his children don't know his great-grandfather. They don't know the bloodline. Now, that mixed with sexual assault by way of the pilgrims,
mm-hmm.
right? And then other means of miscegenation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You cut this African today, he don't bleed just African. He bleed a whole bunch of stuff. But he still has to venerate his ancestors, whether they're white, whether they're native, whether they're Hindu, whether they're Chinese. He still got to venerate them. But they don't do this. They don't worship Orisha. So water is the universal conduit for all spirit. I'll give you a glass of water. and a candle. So now I'm dealing with the 4 elements: water, fire, the flowers or incense is earth, and my voice and my prayers are the air. So I create this construct for my spirits to understand that these are the conduits that they need to communicate with me through. I'm giving them a lesson. So now they say the water, because in your sleep, when you dream, you still swallow. Okay?
That's a fact. Right.
So the glass of water, I create this construct, and then I begin to lift up ancestors and put their pictures up and venerate them and say their names, right? So that through the work that I've done, I met a cousin who's far removed from me in family, that he went and did the research for me and found one of the slaves that was on a plantation in my family by the name of Balthazar Ubaye. So now, let's talk about quantum physics now. I get a picture of some slave in my family and I pray for him. I go back in his time and he's deciding to run, and now the light, that star is shining for him to get out of there. What I do today not only just affects the future, it affects the past.
Quantum physics.
So I gave those people the because see, so now let's get into, so now why is it the Caribbean and the continental United States, why are they different? Because in the Caribbean, when slavery ended, they had a day of jubilee.
Yes.
It's called Carnival.
Yes.
So you stomp on the graves of your ancestors.
Yes.
They know that their suffering was not in vain. In the continental United States, Juneteenth, there was motherfuckers still in slavery in the 1960s. Because there was nobody to tell them. So there was no day of jubilee to alert the people who've been buried, who were whipped and all that they didn't do that shit for nothing.
You mean either like the foundational one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that this was the problem, that when the Cubans first came in, they started dealing with Black Americans and they would have these seances. Black people would get possessed with these spirits that would tear the crib up because there's no resignation, there's no resolution with them. They're like, what? It's still... Nah. So nobody explained to them.
So they are channeling disembodied spirits that may very well still be earthbound. They have not been released
at all.
So
they've been suffering.
Right. So,
because who's saying their names?
Right. Can this be the underpinning or the undergirding energy behind nigger culture?
Absolutely. So that we don't have, so like,
is
okay,
that being conjured and opened up like a Pandora's box via the food and the music then?
Certainly, so that the music becomes murderous, it becomes revengeful.
Right, it's very vengeful.
Right? It's about, I have this angst about me because I'm possessed. Because you got these spirits who don't remember who they are.
Disembodied, right.
Right? Nobody is saying the name. Like I said, so we go to the projects right now and we find Daquan, and I'm like, Daquan, who's your grandmother's name? What's her name? You're going to be like, Nana.
Right.
No, what's her real name? He don't know. Where's she from? Brownsville. No, she's not from Brownsville. She's from North Carolina. She's from Virginia. She's from Oklahoma. No, that's where you come from. So now you're not acknowledging that memory. So she's like, ain't nobody praying for me. They having Thanksgiving. They all sitting outside smoking reefer. Ain't nobody sitting at the table. They ain't praying for none of us. When you start to acknowledge them, they come up and now they're around and now they can whisper in the children's ear, no, don't pick that gun up. Don't, your mama's on drugs. Leave that alone. Right? So that you have to understand that, so that this neglect is what creates this almost like this metaphorical mold. Okay?
Yes.
So in the migration, so now we're talking about the migration from the south to the north, right? We were talking about that earlier. So that started because back in the days, Black people had bought up all this land.
Right.
But then the white boy said, you gotta pay property taxes.
Yes.
So now they gotta pay property taxes, but they done closed the mill down. And they ain't trying to let us work because they know we ain't got no car, no horse and buggy to get to the next town where the work is at. So I'm gonna send you up north. You go to New York, Chicago, Boston,
Philly,
Philadelphia,
right.
Detroit. Go
Mhm.
get that job in one of them factories and send that money home so we could pay these property taxes.
Mm.
And so the angst between the South and the North becomes because the people who got left feel some type of way.
Right.
Because when you come back after you pay the property taxes, you get to sit at the big people table.
you the man, right? You get all the favors.
Lester is upset. He been chopping wood and all that. He feels some type of way. Oh, you
Right.
damn little city slicker. So now you create more dissension between Northerners and the Southerners.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So that you got people that have lost land, air property, because people died and nobody said nothing. Right now, my family found out there's a white man getting some type of rent from one of my grandfather's houses on his property. They just decided ain't nobody. They put a trailer there, starts collecting rent, and then whoa. Why? Because nobody in the South said, "Yo, listen, come up here, come down here," because they're trying to take y'all land. Because they feel some type of way. You think we living it up in the city? You don't know there's rats and all type of craziness up there. You understand?
Right.
So this is creating the dissension. So now the family don't go down south. So now those names are not said. You don't go to those graves, and they get forgotten. And then it will be, and that's really what the pilgrim is trying to do, is trying to erase us. That's why he's trying to take the shit out the books. He's trying to make this thing never happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can, you'll eat yourself, and so then I ain't got to worry about it. So in 100 years, there won't be none of you niggas around. You'll be like the dodo bird. You heard of the dodo bird? You understand? So this is why memory and ancestral worship. So this is what I brought to the table 10, 15 years ago.
So with that being said, do you think this resurgence of people going through the quest to find their identity, right,
Mhm.
which some have termed the culture wars because it's spilling out of control, diasporically, do you see a dichotomy with how African traditional systems may have said, this comes from Africa, what y'all doing in Cuba ain't real, that ain't right, you know what I'm saying? It lacks the originality. Did the diaspora or the culture war start there first, and then this is just the latest iteration of it, where it's now more focalized and more regionalized, where people is like, well, we from this landmass and y'all not, so get up out of here, X, Y, and Z. But them still looking to find themselves, ultimately is them looking to find their ancestors. What they choose to do with them is their business. But do you see that there's a resurgence of people looking for their ancestors and their identity?
I wouldn't say that I say there's more of a grab to create an identity.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a cosplay.
But again, how?
So here's the thing. So now the Nigerians and the Cubans,
Mm-hmm.
the beef is, so on the Nigerian side, they figured out that Black Americans have money.
Yes.
And they figured out it's a way to hustle. So if I get on WhatsApp and I tell you, I did a reading for you, then I get some money. The Cubans on their side, you have a generation of them that don't really care for the religion, but it's just a way to get off the island. So if I go to this class and I dance like Shango, and then they take me on this tour and then I dance Shango, and then I'm a defect, and then I'm going to be in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Did I really care about Shango? Not really. It was just a means for me to get over there, right? So my point is spiritualism. See, because spiritualism don't get you you can't tell me about your nationality, because spiritualism allows for all ethnic information and advice to come at the table. So like if you look over there, I got a Native American shrine, right? It's for my Native Americans, right? So I don't got to speak their language or perform their rituals. It's just the memory that they exist. You understand? So me having that there allows me to honor them and keep their memory alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't gotta come from Nigeria because my Ocha don't know what Nigeria is going through, because it has been born here. It's gone through the circumstances. So this is for the people out there. The difference between what they call Isheshe, right? Because that's the title that's been given. It never had that title. Of traditional African Orisha traditions.
Isheshe.
Call it Isheshe. Which etymologically says, the word Sheshe in Yoruba means work.
Mm-hmm.
Shishe. Right?
Club Sheshe? Right.
So, When you put the I in front of it, the E vowel gives it the ethereal value.
Right.
So in Yoruba, they say Ijuba, Ibaye, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anytime they put the E in front of it, it makes it somewhat holy. So it's holy work. Now, this is a marketing scheme. Nigeria is filled with Muslims and Christians.
Yes, 50-50 is.
The Yoruba people are sparsely sprinkled around. So what happened was, Ifa has a written evidence. They write this shit down.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and this would be the Odu?
Yeah, but Odu is beyond just Ifa, because the word Ifa is an action, it's a verb. Mm-hmm. It means to scrape. Right? Holy scraping. Again, the E. Ifa. Fa means to scrape. Okay. So Ifa is the perfection of divination. It's not the eldest. It's not the antique. It's not antiquitable past cowrie shells. The cowrie shell system was born first. Ifa is the perfection of it. This is why we know it's not antiquitable, because the perfect thing don't start out first. You get to that over trial and error.
Right.
Okay? So the Babalawos normally, so what happened was the Nigerians get sent to Oxford. They get sent to England to go to school because they don't care about history. They care about science, technology, engineering, and math.
STEAM, right.
So they send their kids to Oxford. So when they get to Oxford, they got this African studies class. They start telling them how great their people are. Oh, what? So they go, oh, you fine. So they start to read the books. So now the white boy says, oh, take me to Nigeria and see your people. Now he don't really do this shit. But he know better than you do, right? The same way I'm not from the Bronx, but if you're not from the Bronx, I could take you to the Bronx and take you to Sedgwick, right?
Right. Take you right to Sedgwick, right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So they like, yeah, come on, white boy. So now when they figured out the white boys got money and they'll spend it on it, they start promoting this Ifa thing. So now they got the books and they got the money. So they come to the shrines and the people are poor because they ain't nobody coming to get no readings. Everybody Muslim or fucking Christian. So they ain't getting no funny. So they come in and say, listen, you don't say nothing or you won't eat. Okay, we're about to bring some Americans over here. We're going to give them a ceremony. Now, we don't know what they're giving us because their Orisha traditions were never meant to be given to transient people. You're supposed to be in the town. They're supposed to see you what you're doing. So we don't know what they're giving outsiders. Because what they don't have a system, because Lukumi was made because the slaves didn't have any family, so they created a new family. So this is why the Lukumi circumstance is for us. So now we're getting into the Lukumi situation. We have something in our ceremonies what we call the table. And on the table is a bunch of things that we use. Rum, toasted corn, crushed up bush rat and fish, cotton, honey, molasses, water, all these different things is on this table. And we use these things to season the elixir that the Orishas are born in. Now, the important part to this is that everything that was on that table, somebody got sold for. A human being was exchanged for. And so now me putting these things in the elixir gives them the memory to know that everything that the slaves went through, because you ain't in Africa no more. You here in America and you don't own the land. So you got to help me. And so these things that I take off the table, I put it in there, season it to educate them to understand that when you read me, you need to understand I'm driving while black. Because the Nigerian don't know that. He ain't never seen that before. So he can't tell you how to move through the world because he don't have those circumstances. He don't have the cultural education for that.
Right. That's not his reality.
Exactly. So I said to people 15 years ago, stop letting them try to sell you Ifa because that's a cultural shock to you. You don't know that. Put grandma on your altar. You know her. She gonna talk to you and she ain't gonna lie to you because she ain't no Orisha. She's straight from your bloodline. This is why I told them a glass of water and a candle, but everybody jumped over that. Oh, I'm going to get the Palo, I'm going to get the Ifa, I'm going to be a Babalawo. You got 5 years of a Babalawo, you ain't shit. You don't know nothing. Don't ask me nothing, don't tell me nothing.
What you mean by that?
Because Ifa originally was meant for old men. it was meant for Orisha priests that when they got old, that they would start to study Ifa, because there is a wonder in the aha of this religion. So every time I come into contact with something and I learn something, it's an aha moment. So it was made for old men. But in order to proliferate it, they start selling it to motherfuckers. Now you gotta make some Ifa. Come over here, because they gotta build their numbers up. We also can't deny the fact that they have an influence from the three Abrahamic faiths. Right? Because ain't none of them Babalaos show up in Cuba for 150 years. They ain't show up in Brazil. Why not? So one of my elders, who was an Orisha priest, and he went to Nigeria to become a Babalao, he said after it was all said and done, Ibaye to New Baba Fakundo said, oh, this is nice. He said, but if Ifa is perfect, how come you ain't see that white boy coming? And then you never sent a ship to come get us. Been some betrayal going on here. So they didn't show up in Brazil. That it made the women in Brazil not initiate a man for over 200 years. They said you will never be in power again to do what you did to us, and it's already happening already. As you look, if you go to Brazil and look now, there's no more Mai de Santos or the Tejeras, there's Pai de Santos. The men have taken over. Okay? Because they accepted Ifa into it, because they told them, oh, you need this. They was working perfectly fine. Now they're coming in with it. So the Africans understand that this is something to sell. The new Cuban has figured out this is something to sell. I'm telling black people, no, go get you a glass of water and a candle, go get somebody in your family's picture, and let them guide you the way you're supposed to go. Because, again, they can't do shit with you without ancestral reverence. So, again, this is all, so like the internet,
Go
go ahead.
You know, this is gonna spark some conversation. Some Babalaos will say, nigga, who you think your ancestors is? They don't have the power to do X, Y, and Z. You know, this is their first hoorah. They have not built up the ancestral ashe to do anything on your behalf. They don't even know where they're going yet. Right?
Okay.
In exchange for saying, yeah, I wouldn't lean on Orisha before I would call on the ancestor who is newly departed. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the hierarchical pecking order in the heavens for somebody to?
We have a wheel. Iku means death.
Yes.
We have a saying that says, Iku se lobi ocha. It says death gave birth to the Orishas. Orisha se lobi Ifa. The Orishas gave birth to divination. Ifa se lobi osan. Divination gave birth to medicine. And too much medicine leads you into death. That's the wheel of life. So death, if it ain't for the ancestors, you don't know the Orishas. So don't tell me that because in divination, I could throw Obi to Obatala or any one of these Orishas, and a certain signal could come out and stop that conversation, and I gotta go straight to the Egun. But I could never be talking to Egun and Obatala stop me from talking to them. Okay? Again, if you believe in Jesus, he's an ancestor. If you believe in Taurus or Aries, that star is dead. So you back to the dead. Without the dead, you don't have a concept of God. So again, they can say whatever they want to. And see, this is the thing. I stand on what I say. In a couple of days, I'll be 49. I got 49 years in this tradition. I got 20 years of Shango. Okay? I got 25 plus years as a diviner, because before I had Ocha, I was divining. Right? All these Johnny come latelys, you're not going to tell me about something that take a lifetime to understand. See, because when I started, I don't know God. I know Lofi Olorun Olodumare. My creator didn't make the world in 6 days and rest on the seventh. He continues to expand the universe right now. So we don't got the same creator. You heard? And so I never knew God. So when these niggas come, you converted to this, you still ain't washed all of the other fucking markers off for the last shit that you went through. I'm telling you, I'm coming through this shit fresh. I think like an Orisha. I was taught to think like an Orisha. You understand? So when the rent is, I don't go. Oh, I come in here and I go, yo, what's up? You feel what I'm saying? I don't go. I got different customs because of my upbringing. So when my folks, they be like, oh, he's just a hater. Imagine this. Imagine you grew up in a gang situation. Your grandmother was the OG. And then somebody from New York that just got initiated 2 years ago, gonna tell you how the program works. Are you serious? Dead people talk to me at night. Dead people that I know. Right? And so this becomes a thing about whether or not you're in this for money, or are you in this for attention, or are you truly here to help people? Because if you're truly here to help people, you would be too afraid to operate on somebody when you ain't got the experience. You feel me? And so you see these people, and even with the sisters, and there ain't no disrespect, but you're not fit to tell me how spiritual you are when you got 3 baby daddies there and they all ain't shit. Where was your intuition then?
What if they're working on it?
Yeah, right.
Working on it.
Yeah, that ain't enough. It ain't enough. You got 3 baby daddies, so you didn't figure out that the second one was a piece of shit. You got to the third and had a baby? Nah, son, I'm not fitting to listen to whatever little consultation you got.
Let's take a break. 5 minutes.
So I really want to talk to you about cultural context.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that I asked you earlier about this particular path. Is it something that people are called to, or there's something that in one's journey to know thyself is something that they encounter, whereas the magic, quote unquote, is in the momentum. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that, do these systems find people when they're sitting still, down and out, hands thrown up? You feel me? Like, is it a system that taps people who might have given up on themselves per se, or is it one that's more so associated with people who are actively engaged in, you know what I'm saying,
Okay,
digging themselves and their ancestors out of shallow graves?
So imagine this. Imagine you had a textile of Louis V.
Yes.
If you saw any mistakes would stand out immediately.
Yes.
Because it's
uniform.
Because the uniform, you see where there's a mistake. Well, it's the same thing with these traditions. So when you're broken, you stand out from the pattern. And so then it allows life to come and find you. So they believe that our theological concept of choice in life is that as a soul in heaven, you ask God to come here because this is the resort. But in order to come, you have to overcome something. So hypothetically, let's just use somebody like a Stevie Wonder, for instance. So before he came here, he told them, I'm going to go to the world, and I'm going to be blind. And beyond being blind, I'm going to overcome this challenge, and I'm going to become famous. Now, the thing is that they say when you're having this conversation with God, there's several entities in this space with you. So one of the entities is Orunmila. He's recording what you said in heaven, what you was going to do. Eshu is the witness. Now, they say that there's a river between heaven and earth. And when you cross that river, it's the river of forgetfulness, that you forget what you came here for.
Right.
So now you come to the world with this free will, and they say that it's Eshu's job to create calamity so that you have mishaps, so that those mishaps force you to seek advice. And in seeking advice, you go to the diviner, and then the diviner opens up and says, this is what you said you was going to do in heaven.
Right, so that you shall remember. So they
your mission.
Right, they start throwing barrels on the road like Donkey Kong.
Absolutely.
Next thing you find yourself on the mat, and the mat introduces you to yourself
to who you
or
are.
your mission.
Now you still have free will. You
Right.
you can reject that destiny.
Right.
No, I don't want to do that. But then you have to be responsible for the consequences of said choice.
Right. So the concept is that, right, there was a contract that was made,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, and you are somehow expected, you know, at some point, if it's within your path, to pick up on this contract. Because what happens between the gulf of time that has existed between our ancestors not having access to the pad, to the mat, and them have made contracts. And these are some of the most resilient ancestors that we have, because allegedly they're the ones that forged through, as of lately, some of the most difficult things for us to be here. These are the shoulders in which we stand on. And they didn't sit in front of the mat. You know what I'm saying? So when we speak about guiding, and we speak about guiding through calamity, right? And guiding through the terror dome or what have you, why would we not be more formatted and capable for success, right? And our ancestors did it without the guidance.
Well, that's the thing, though. We don't know what they did it with. Right? Because they had to be secretive about it, right? So like they talk about there's a staff that we use to call, that we bang on the ground to wake the ancestors up, right? And they say in Cuba they used to keep those sticks in the outhouse because the white boy wasn't going in the shitter, right? And so there's a lot of secretness that goes on, so that you don't even realize it, that these things were kept on, but they just weren't given the context. So you go back to the house in the South, and they always got a wooden spoon hanging from the thing. That's traditional stuff. The wiping of your feet at the door, that's a direct salute to Elegba, that you keep everything from the world back out there and you come inside. And when you leave the house, you keep the goodness inside the house and go out in the world. These are little nuances that we perform that are in our memory. It's epigenetical, right? So so I had this conversation with my grandmother when I was about 19. So my grandmother asked me, she said, "Don't you want to get initiated?" And I was like, "I don't really care for the people." She said, "It ain't about the people." And I was like, "Well, why I gotta make Ocha anyway?" She said, "So you could live forever." And I was like, "What?" And so at the time, it just sounded like some Mickey Mouse shit. What the fuck is she talking about? So I left it alone. And then we returned to this conversation in the span of a couple, maybe a season. And just like we never left it, I started again. I said, "What you mean live forever?" She said, "Well, when you come into these traditions, when you're going into initiation, the moment that you make that commitment, you are essentially dead. And we're going to take you into the room and we're going to revive you. And when we revive you, we're going to revive you with a new name. Now, this name, other priests may have had it or still have it. It's been recycled. But as long as somebody is in the tradition banging that stick and calling those names of those ancestors and those names of those priests." See, because it's not just that you have your name, they give you this name that's attached. This is your religious name. Now, somebody may have had this name before, somebody in the future will have it. But these names are kind of like in a series that they're kept in a cadre of memory. So that when I start to do what they call the Ibaye News, which is to exalt the ancestors, I say the names of those who have been initiated. And if you are attached to that name, if nobody else remembers you, that will lift you up.
Right.
And so you will live forever under the consciousness that is connected to that name.
Right. So one is coming under the canopy of consciousness, the covering, cosmic covering, you know, and you're connected to the chain link of these traditions, which are ongoing, you know, so that will preserve you.
And you also, when you get the day of your initiation, in the cadre of prayers, there's a specific part where we deal with Egun, the ancestors, right? So they're going to say the names of dead priests, but because you are being initiated that day, you get to say the names of your dead people who don't have those religious names, but they still get lifted up. So it's like if I play for the Jets, as my family member, you get certain amenities when you come inside the stadium.
Got it.
right? Because normally you ain't got that type of access. But because I play for the team,
Right.
you a part of the Jets family now. So you could get you some peanuts, you could get you some a jersey, right? You could sit up in the box seats and all that, right? But you might not be able to come on the field.
Membership has its privileges.
Right. So when you do that, as you partake in these traditions, you are directly uplifting the entire group of people behind you.
Mm.
So your first task when you get into these traditions is they're gonna tell you, listen, go do your homework and find out who your people are. You need to have a plethora of names for your mama's side and from your daddy's side, so that when we say these names, those people get uplifted and they become honored. So now, like I said, they got privileges, special privileges in the underworld now because they know me. They're related to me.
So is a name on par with blood, or do these services that are now afforded to your name or your family's name come because of blood? Meaning that now you're a member and you're not just putting into the pot, you know what I'm saying, in terms of saying, yeah, I'm down with this X, Y, and Z, but you're also consecrating it in blood.
Well, it's like you putting in your time. Like, you know, those where you have countries where you have to go to the military.
Yes.
So I did my time in the military, right? And so I did my time. And so you benefit from those benefits because I fought for the country. You understand?
Gotcha. Yes, right. A veteran's family.
Absolutely. So when we do this, I'm bringing. So when a person that has not had any ancestral veneration for the last 3 generations, right? They come and they come see me. They get a reading. I tell them to look up their people. They go do the research. They start to have these names. And now when I come to their house and I perform ceremony in the house and I start with the ancestors first, I lift those people up. And again, this is affecting the past. So all of those people that didn't know who God was from an African perspective and didn't have any of that, now they are educated because we share the same DNA, right?
Right.
And so consciousness is beyond, because blood is just a vehicle. It is an instrument. So so they say that, so you'll get the new age people say, oh, well, you know, we're conscious and we don't need to kill anything anymore because, right, whatever, okay. But they don't understand the mechanics of it. So the mechanics are as follows. The bloodletting. So when we take something that is ethereal, right, it's intangible, and I pray into this chicken or this animal that has running blood in it, which is plasma. And we know that plasma is affected by frequency and sound.
Yeah.
So now I imbue the chicken with my intentions, which are not tangible. When I bloodlet the animal and the blood dries on the icon, the icon is now drenched in those intentions. And blood is second to water, that it has the ability of osmosis. It changes form, right? So if I cut myself, I get to bleed and I can rub it away. But if I leave it, it'll cake up and then it'll be tangible.
Crystallized, right.
So as the blood coagulates, so does the thoughts and the intentions. The other part of it is that blood has copious amounts of iron in it.
Magnetism.
Right. So what is magnetism? It either repels or attracts. Right. So I program it to repel negativity, a loss of a job, all of those negative things. And I program it to attract love, peace, a new job, all those other things. So as it coagulates and it comes into the material from the ethereal world, now it has manifested itself in this world, right? And so have my intentions. They went from ethereal to material now.
Right. So the blood is operating as a transmitting utility.
Absolutely.
In your prayer, your intention is the passenger in that vehicle. So we're speaking about visualizing payloads going from A to B and being delivered. Oh, the kid, are they here? Are we there yet? Come here. So traditionally, can that ever be sidestepped? Because you just told me that one can gain access with a candle, In a glass
in a
of
glass
water.
of water, certainly. But that is
So is that the new age conscious way of saying I could participate too, but I'm vegan, so I
but to a certain level, right? So
please explain.
in a
Yes.
certain level. So we talk about dimensions, right?
Mhm.
When you are in a certain dimension, there are going to be things that are going to you're going to have residuals from it.
Mhm.
So if you dunk me in the pool all day and I stay in the pool, when I get out, I'm going to be wrinkled,
Mhm.
right? So the water in a glass of water in the candle allows you to a safe space, because beyond that, you are in a dimension that is going to take it's going to be hard on your physical body.
Mhm.
So like when I hear the people and they say, "Oh, you know, I ain't trying," but they be like, "Oh, I went to Nibiru or something." And I'll be like, "All right, but what's the residual for that? Did you come home with a cold? Did you come home with you couldn't see, your eyes was puffy?" Because there has to be a residual, because you changed dimensions.
Mhm.
And in that other dimension, there are other things that you're going to suffer from.
Right.
So if I go by the volcano,
Extremes, right.
exactly, I go by the volcano, I'm going to be breathing in carbon dioxide and all those different
Right.
things.
Like when I was younger and I'd be like, I had a dream and I seen Jesus. I came back, I had Skymatic, right? I had cut scratches. They was whipping me and shit. I had sandals on. I mean, these are
right, and there's evidence here.
just evidence.
That you
I was like,
brought back
look,
with you,
what's
right?
these holes in my hand?
Because you were in a place that your body wasn't prepared for.
Facts.
You understand? So when you're dealing with a glass of water and a candle, so that there's levels to this. So we have the orishas.
Mhm.
And the orishas require blood, fruit, attention, all of this other stuff. Then we have the saints, right?
Mhm.
So one of the things that the Africans learned by dealing with Catholicism is that the saints work fast, right? Because they have the authority of the king, of the one who's in power of the land, right? So I get to praying to them, and they have a different timeline. So that we have a saying that when you go to the Palero, you get a reading. The evidence, well, the phenomena should last between 21 days to 3 months.
Mhm.
If you go see the Santero, the phenomena should last from 3 months to 6 months. If you go see the Babalao, that phenomenon hasn't even gotten here yet. He's talking about some shit that's about to happen 5 years from now. So you don't even have a context of it. Like, what are you talking about? I don't even work over that type of place. But you don't know in the future you might find yourself in that place.
That's a fact.
You understand?
Yes.
So dealing with the glass of water and the candle allows you a certain amount of access. That's it. You ain't gonna get to the source, right? Because the only way to get to the source is to give this up and die.
Right. So you gotta go through the Milky Way. You gotta go through the Van. I mean, ethereal speaking, right? That those are just dimensions. Because if you're calling on your ancestors, you know, theoretically speaking, they might be here as opposed to all the way out there, per se.
Yeah. But what happens
So it's like the spaceship that they like, yeah, it goes to, near orbit Earth, but it can't. I'm just using hypotheticals.
Right, but so let's talk
right?
about. So this is something
Right.
that the vast majority of the spiritual people have never. This is something that's brand new to them.
Yes.
When you can imagine that a spirit has spirit. So you don't know these people. This is somebody who's been forgotten, but the spirits know who he is. They know his name, and they interact with him. And he can see farther than they can because he's in a different vantage point. So first time I went to Cuba, I saw this with a family that I'm very tight with. They have an ancestor, and her name is Josefa. She was a slave. But Josefa has a spirit, and the spirit's name is Papa Oro. So in their seances, one of the family members might get possessed with Josefa, and Josefa is there now. And then Josefa will call on Papa Oro, and she'll get possessed with Papa Oro. And he sees beyond Josefa because she's still close to the people because her bones are still here. But he's been forgotten. But she just knows him as Papa Oro. You understand? And Papa Oro knows more than her because he has more access because he's been in that world. See, because it's just like anything. You move into a neighborhood. As you move into the neighborhood, you get to meet people. You get to learn people. And as you've been there over years and time, then you have more amenities. Right? And so the same thing goes for the dead. So those people who's been forgotten, they work for God without reward. See, because one of our things in our prayers is that we say, Tembelese Olodumare. They say that you wish to be at the foot of God. Right? To be at God's foot. So there are levels to this, like everything. And so this is why we don't bother with God, because God is a CEO that's at the top of the penthouse and he's not interested in what you're doing. So I work in the mailroom, right? I want Easter off. I happen to run into you. You're the CEO of this company. It just so happens one day you get on the elevator at the same time and I'm like, hey man, can I get Easter off? And you'd be like, sure, but I don't know who the fuck you are. Right? And you can't make that decision because you don't know who's above me, so that if I take that day, the system still runs. Because you're more involved in the stockholders, the building maintenance, the insurance, the shareholders.
Yeah, straight on Hormuz.
Right. So what I'm doing in the mailroom is of no consequence to you. And so this is how we observe the hierarchy of consciousness. That if my creator is still creating the universe, me saying help me now to pay the rent, he's not gonna stop what he's doing to go come back to help me with the rent. There's other subordinates for that. It's a chain of command. I go to my ancestors first. Yo, what's up? I pay the rent. I'm like, oh man, go to Chongo. I'm like, Chongo, we're about to be homeless. And I move up the chain of command. You understand? But I talk to who understands my circumstance and my position. He know what time I get here. He know what time I eat lunch. You understand that? God don't know. The CEO be like, who are you? Give you Easter for what? I don't even know who you are. Where you work at? Oh, I'm in the basement, in the mailroom. Like, get the fuck away from me. Matter of fact, you ain't got a job tomorrow talking to me. Sure. Right? Because he is in an omnipotent position. What he say affects everything within that building and in that corporation. It's the same thing with God. So why are you even bothering with God? Deal with your locals. It's the same thing with politics. You worrying about the president, you be talking about your congressman. Right. Because he has the ability to affect your localizations of things.
They tell you all politics is local.
Exactly.
It's all spirituality
So
local.
Same thing. Same thing. Because now we're going to talk about spiritual hygiene. So where you go determines what happens to you. So
elaborate.
If you can imagine that spiritual energy is like radiation.
Yes.
Okay, right? I talk about this in the book. If you and I were to go to Chernobyl right now,
yes,
when we walk through Chernobyl, when we come out, we got radiation poison. And everybody that we come in contact with gonna get radiation poison.
Right.
Okay, so that's spiritual hygiene. So hypothetically, and I tell this to my godson, you got a baby mama at home. She just had the baby 4 months. You decide you want to go to the strip club. You go to the strip club and the girl is there and she's winding on you and she's taking all of her disappointment, her needs and everything and rubbing it on you for money. Now all her bad stuff is on you. And you go home and get in the bed with your wife who just had a baby and she like, get out my bed. I hate you, you piece of, who was you with? Because she's picking up all of the energy that was on that fucking stripper. So when I come out of there, because in that place, there was an air about it.
It's a plasma field.
Yeah, motherfuckers is trying to get over on each other. They hate each other. This bitch hates this bitch, and this nigga's fucking this one, and all of this confusion. And I'm walking in it. So now I got to go outside and clean myself off. Get that off of me, right? Like we were talking about pollen. It's like pollen getting on top of you. You got to shake that stuff off. Man, get this pollen off of me. Because if I go home with it, I'm going to infect everything else.
You start sneezing.
You understand? Right. So this is spiritual. So like when you see the movie, just for a reference, when you see the movie Set It Off, when the little brother gets killed, it's because he went in the trap house. He was in the trap house. They put the name on the back of his head. He put the jacket on, and now he has the trap energy. So imagine if you have a son and he's 14 or 15 and his homeboy's got a trap and he coming from school, he could be a good boy, but he stop over there, they playing Black Ops, he smoke a couple blunts with him. When he leave, he got the trap on him. Police see him, stop his ass. Because he got the trap on him, right? It's like the pollen.
Right, got that energy.
Exactly.
That
so
plasma.
Spirit, you go into a hospital, come out of the hospital, you clean yourself off. There's sick people, it's people wanting to die, they want to switch spots with you. Come out the cemetery, there's niggas who want to live again. Clean yourself off.
How does one go about cleaning themselves off?
So now we're talking about using your environment. Chlorophyll, right? The chlorophyll. So this is interesting because in Yoruba land, Ogun, the blacksmith, keeps a lot of foliage around him. Why? Because the chlorophyll demagnetizes him. So for the young men in the neighborhood, you carrying a pistol every day, you become magnetized. The police can see you.
Mm-hmm.
The Peckerwood, he go in the woods with his gun. It's cleaning him off. So you don't see none of the residuals and none of that war he was just practicing. Right? Because he's inadvertently practicing spiritual hygiene because he's letting the trees and the
He's
brush.
forest bathing.
Exactly. But you in a concrete jungle, you got this metal on you, and the police are lighting human metal detectors.
Right.
Him.
Streets is hot, right? And you got that metal on you, and you in concrete, and heat rises. You got heat on you, and heat is rising, and the folks is looking at your thermal, like,
and they can see
get
you.
your ass over
So
here.
that you understand that. And Chris is the one that put me onto this. Homicide detectives are always bald.
Yo.
And they always got a mustache. Because when they go to the crime scene, the smell of death getting their clothes, getting their hair. So they smoke cigars to get the smell out of it. And when they're smoking the cigars in the crime scene, the cigar is opening up another portal, and the dead are telling them what happened. So that's when he'd be like, he look up and say, "Oh, there's a bullet hole right there. Oh, that's where the bullet went." Because the dead tell them.
Now I'm noticing they be like this, and they'll get there and they be like,
They're practicing spiritualism.
wow.
They're smoking cigars.
They're operating as babalaos.
They're spiritualists. And they wearing fedoras. The way they dress, and it's a memory. So now there's spirits of detectives. So when you put on the whatchamacallit, the inspector jacket.
Yeah.
What was the name of those jackets? Remember,
like the Dick Tracy joints.
The Dick Tracy joint, but there was a specific trench coats, but it was a specific brand.
Members only?
Not members only.
London Fog.
London Fog. So when you put that London Fog on, the dead detectives recognize you. Oh, he's on the crime scene. Let me tell him. Oh shit, there's a blood stain over there. There's a splatter. The shit is talking to them because the dead are talking.
Yeah.
Because he's smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
Because the body still hasn't. The body's there, but the spirit hasn't left. It still left residuals.
And like you said, because I want to get back to that at some point about the saints coming through quicker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because what you're saying they're connected to a system that is more active in its transactions in terms of its turnovers.
Well, it's more popular.
Right. So officers come under the consecration of St. Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Hence the fact that in their 8-pointed hats, they will put the placard, the picture in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's
so the patron saints, right? So in Cuba, you have La Santísima, La Virgen, La Santísima de la Caridad de Cobre, the Virgin of the Holy Spirit of Charity.
Mm-hmm.
She is not Oshun, but she is likened to Oshun. So that if you can imagine, there's an Oshun dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Oshun,
like
there's Ursuli.
Oshun multiverse?
Yes. Okay. Like Spider-Man. Yeah. So like how Spider-Man had the different versions of Spider-Man.
Multiverse,
right?
Yeah.
So that's how La Caridad is not Oshun, but she's a version of Oshun. Mm-hmm. And if you make a promise to her, what they call a novena, a ritual promise that every day, for a certain amount of days, you're going to say these prayers a certain amount of time. It's that intention and that memory, again, that turns her on, and she goes, "What do you want?" Here. Right? Now, that's not without, you're going to have to go to the Catholic Church every once in a while, because they want to see that you powering up their thing. So you go in the Catholic Church, you make the sign of the cross, see the thing, go over there, light the candle at the saint, blah, 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 walk around, pick up some of the ambiance. And now that spirit, that saint, that energy has been powered up into what it is, its natural battery, which is the cathedral. You understand? So that you can, if you can imagine that the saints. So the first time as growing up, because there's a misnomer about Santeria, right? And I said this on Dot's show a long time ago. Santeria is an epithet. There was not really this thing about them using the saints. What it was in order. So what made it so Cuba so very, I guess, fertile for all of this is that Catholicism was there. And Catholicism allows for expression of religion. So the Catholics said, well, you can't work them to death. You got to give them a day off on the Sabbath. So they said, okay, they started giving the slaves a day off. So after they went and participated in Mass, they would just be hanging around. So they started to create these social groups, these cabildos of nations where they could all speak their language and remember their stuff, right? So they start to go to the Catholic Church for a sponsorship to sponsor their fraternity of their nation.
Their social club.
Right. And so in that, the Catholic Church gave them a certain amount of time. So that now they say, well, we're going to put La Caridad here for y'all. But Oshun is inside. And you could look at Caridad and say that we're still being Catholic and all that. But inside, we're going to get the hooting and hollering about Oshun. Right?
Right.
And so I used to be like, these saints. And then one until I went to Cuba and I went in one of them churches and you see them saints and you're like, oh, this shit is real. They've been talking to you. Motherfucker be looking down at you. Oh, you real, yeah. And so now I start to understand after delving into spiritualism how to deal with them, where they deal with the most immediate thing, right? And so,
but how does one psycho-spiritually differentiate with juggling these different paradigms and them not having?
Well, that's what spiritualism is about. So spiritualism says that everybody is allowed to come to the table as long as you come in the idea of love and light. Ooh. So in a spiritual seance or a misa, someone may read from the Quran, someone may read from the Book of Dead, someone may read from the Bible, because these spirits, this is the word of God that they have a memory to, right? So you have to remember the Lord's Prayer is very important because when they went and conquered everybody, that's the first thing that they made them learn. In whatever language, albeit French or Spanish, whatever, they was like, our Father who art in heaven. That's why we continue to use it, because it is a memory that takes the slaves to a point when they came in contact with the modern world. Okay? And so this idea of, again, we went back to memory. Memory is what makes all of this run. So you have to have those memories in order for them to pull on. You understand? And so when you go to the saints, you have this. So now the saints are powered by the controlling factor of the world, which is the fact that the president or whoever, whatever, he's the nigga that run the land. Africans are very, very, very invested in that. They talk about when the Africans first came to Cuba, they wouldn't bury their people in the ground because they had no connection to the ground. So there was a period where they were kind of like in a limbo where they didn't really know what to do with themselves because they're like, I'm not from here. And so they began to have these treaties with the Native Americans that were still around, who would teach them this herb and that herb, and they started to figure out the replacements for the things that they knew back home. And so after making this commitment with the Native Americans allowed them to start to bury their people in the ground. Because the ground is very, very important. Who is in control of the ground? Because in Yoruba land, the Oni of Ile Ife is in control of the ground. So the first yam that comes out, it belongs to him. Right? But here, we don't have control over the ground. Our king is not in place. And so we can't. So what happens is because they're in control, their resonance moves faster. Because it's their game.
It's like they have an electrical grid laid over and their connections are just wired.
Because they're moving every day. Because you say Washington Street, you say Jefferson Street, you keep calling them dead motherfuckers.
Right. So they got optimum.
Yeah. So even in your money. in your money,
I get
they
it.
got this dead nigga on it. He's
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
money.
They constantly are venerating.
Exactly. And so this is why it's
It's
ignorant.
charged. It's charged.
It's charged all the time.
Wi-Fi is hitting. It's 6G.
Well, if you don't, so understand this. God is very invested in who is in power.
Mm-hmm.
See, because this whole thing about, so like, remember, so it was a time ago, I was on Dot and them show, and they was like, what you think about reparations? And I was like, they need to give black people 100 years and no rent. Because rent is the basis of all bills, right? But the system that we function under is medieval. You're a landlord. Originally, the landlord there was a bear around here, and you couldn't set up shop because the bear come and eat your ass, right? So I come over here with my sword and my arrows, and I kill the bear, and I set up shop. And you say, listen, Oba, can I move next to you because you didn't kill the bear? And I say, all right, my nigga, you can pay. You pay me to live around here. But that also includes that if another bear comes, I kill the bear. And any other marauder that comes. The person I pay rent to, if I get robbed at that front door, he ain't going to do nothing about it.
Right.
So how is he my landlord? I'm paying him for space that he cannot occupy at the same time. He can't occupy this space and home at the same time. So how do you own this? This is the problem the Native American had. He was like, what do you mean you own it? What are you talking about? You didn't make this shit? So in terms of reparation, if they gave us 100 years, that's not really that long. 100 years and no rent and no commercial rent or taxes, we'll come up because that's the bulk of our
bread.
Yeah, we pay for rent, right? So let us get it because we didn't ask to be here. So because we didn't ask to be here, we shouldn't have to pay to be in this motherfucker. You understand? Because if you give us education, everybody ain't gonna go to school. But in 100 years, if your family can't get it together after 100 years of not paying no rent, something wrong with you. Something wrong with you. If you in 100 years you niggas can't get it together, something wrong. But if I give you education, everybody's not gonna go for education. Damn sure ain't fitting to give you niggas a check.
Right. So if in fact, because I don't know whether there's ever been a general reading done about what happened to melanated people in the diaspora.
Oh, it has. Go ahead.
So with that being said, first, one, I would like to know what the results of that reading are, and two, where does that also put the people who feel that they did not come from the continent, be it a transatlantic slave, but their ancestors are here? What spiritual system is there to verify that? How would they go about getting in contact with their ancestors? And if in fact they were here, would that not mean that there's a more immediate way to get redress and remedy from their ancestors if they are in the land that you're speaking about, that these people have no control, or the other people are currently in control of?
Well, the first thing is that in Odu, they say that we came here as children of Osa. And Osa is the Odu of betrayal, revolution, and it's also the Odu of cotton. And so Cotton complained to God that the birds came and ate her children. And God said, all right, you're going to have to toughen up. And so he gave her something to eat. And Cotton ate it, and in the morning she grew thorns. And so as soft as she is, she will prick you if you touch her children. Now, the betrayal part comes in, we go back to this Ifa situation, we talk about politics. So if a cowrie shell was the currency of West Africa, there was a change because Orumila and Ifa don't use dilagoons, they use palm nuts. So we can assume that there was a change or a revolution in commodity when palm oil became the sought after commodity, right? And palm oil, the king produced the palm oil. So that we can assume that there was a change of finances and currency and of politics, right? So now, understanding that, we understand that the palm nuts became a big thing. Now, the people who the tradition is really named after, the Lukumi people, were taken out of Yoruba land for a specific skill. So the white women would come to the Caribbean or to Brazil and these places in the New World, and they would sweat their asses off. They were miserable. But they saw that the Africans had this paste that they put on their faces and to keep them cool, right? And originally it was limestone, but they call it efun.
Efun, right.
So if you look into Spanish, they have a word called cascarilla, which is what we call, in Spanish, what we call efun. So cascarilla, what do they know about this? Why did they name it that? Because during the colonial times, the white women used it as makeup. They put it on their face to keep them from sweating. So these people, the Lukumi people, they had a mine, a limestone quarry that they were mining. And they brought people from all over West and Central Africa. So if you can imagine like Detroit, when the Great Migration from the South comes, you got all these people from Mississippi, from Alabama, all these different places. Well, the same thing happened in the town of, or the city of Olukumi. You had people from the Congo, you had people from Ghana, you had people from Mali, from Yoruba land, from the Igbos. They all came to get work there. And when they come, they bring their customs with them. They bring their food, they bring all these things. And this is where the pantheon, for a lack of words, was created of the Orisha, of the hierarchy. This was done with them way before they ever, left Africa. So that when they came to the New World, they brought those people here because they needed the cascarilla, because the white women were suffering in Cuba, in Haiti, in Jamaica. So this is what they powdered their wigs with. So it was a sought out commodity.
And is efun that crushed egg?
That crushed eggshell, but it was originally limestone.
Limestone. So they were using that like sunscreen.
Absolutely. Well, not more than sunscreen. It keeps you cool. It's like mud.
I mean like sunscreen.
Yeah, so it's a mud, so it clogs the pores,
right?
And you don't sweat, right? They use it for chalk. They use it when you have an upset stomach. You sprinkle that in water and you drink it. It's a base. It will stop the acid in your stomach. Okay, because the crushed up eggshells have the same ability, because they allow the embryo. It's like an air conditioning system. It never gets too hot in there.
Right.
And so this substance has the ability to cool things down.
Got it.
Right? So this was a sought out commodity that they were looking for, these specific people that knew how to do that. Same thing when they went to Senegambia and they brought the people who brought rice. They brought the rice growers here to the Gullah Geechee. They came from the Senegambia area because that's where they make rice. Right? So they brought these people for these specific things. So with all that being said, there was a betrayal. And so the betrayal happened with this new cult that had the ability to deal with the politics. And so there was a coup d'etat in what you call the transatlantic slave trade. It was a change of politics. They kicked another group out and sent them on their way. And we know this because when the Yorubas were warring with the people from Benin, present-day Benin, when the Benin people were losing, the Yorubas sent them to Haiti. Then the war changed, and the tide changed, and then the Dahomians started to win, and they started to send the Yorubas to Brazil, Cuba, and so on. It was the Benin kings that found out how they were treating the slaves that they outlawed the slave trade. So when you see the woman king is a lot of conjecture bullshit. Because they made the Oyos into Muslims, and they were never into that. They were fighting Islam as long as they could, right? What happened was the Benin started to deal with the Portuguese, and the Portuguese gave them guns. And they say that the Amazon warrior women of Benin would cut their breast off to hold the rifle to go to war. Okay? The Hunsi. Right, the Amazon, they gave them that name because that was the closest thing that they could refer to in Greek mythology as these Amazons, right? Because they had never seen women jumping out of trees and killing motherfuckers and shit like that. And it was because the women were forced to go to war because so many of the men had been decimated. Okay, and so when we understand that there was a coup d'etat in us being brought here, now the people that say that they weren't brought here, okay, that's cool. So they said they're going to go in and get the DNA test, right? Okay, so in the DNA test, they got to have references Where the fuck did they get the Indian references from? The Indians were dead before they got here. And the ones that were left were so culturally changed that they don't remember that they were Native Americans. So when they say that, oh, you in this haplogroup, well, where did you get the first sample for that? Because the Indians has been dead. How you got a sample of some DNA that they've been gone?
Well, they said that the people were misnomered and they weren't dead. They were here under different categories or.
So now we're going back to the nomadic conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the original Iroquois empires, right? Nation, they lived in houses. They were not nomadic. They had a wall around them. Right. Those people that you call the Plains Indians, those are the nomads. Mm-hmm. Because they didn't always have horses. Right. The horses came with the Spaniards.
Allegedly, right.
So they were just wandering around. Those were the people that the Native American nations said, get them niggas out of here. They don't got no etiquette. You understand? We see this all over the world. Great in China, the Great Wall of China. They've just acknowledged that Benin had a wall. I was talking about that 10 years ago. Benin had a wall that's longer than China's.
Yes, it did.
Right? Every place has a wall to keep dissident people out. So when we as human beings, when we are drawn to the religion of the people who got kicked out, something wrong. Something wrong. Because, so my theory, because I don't have the money to go and research. I don't have the money to stay 10 years with a group of people, right? But this is from conversations of oral tradition from the old people. So when you look at Islam, the first masjid is in Canton, China. That's a fact. The oldest masjid is in Canton, China. So we're talking about a guild, a union. Like I said earlier, you have the ledgers, right? The bankers, you have the collectors, and you have the enforcers. All three of them are all the same family. They all believe in Abraham, right? They all be talking about give me mines, right? Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, give unto God what is God. Pay your taxes. So now this is why Islam is so regimented with rules, because you have a group of marauders that you got to keep in control. So you got to set these rules. You cut your hand off. It's got to be extreme, because I got a bunch of crazy motherfuckers who've already been kicked out. They're already dissident. Now, what they don't tell us, so they talk about the grafted man. So imagine, so now let's just imagine, let's just take it from the very beginning. All of the indigenous societies have a divination system, right? So when you're born, they know what type of citizen you're going to be. You're going to be dissident. By the time you get to be 11, 12, they're kicking you out. You go with the other motherfuckers. Now, ain't no women out there, because the women know how to behave, because we can slap them up. So all the dissidents, because I'm not fitting to have you start no coup d'etat, so I kick you out. Now, you roaming around like the Lord of the Flies with a bunch of other motherfuckers. So now you have to come together, right? Mm-hmm. So now you come together. And like I said, you start to sack the place until we decide to give you a job. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now these people start to write down history. They write down their own history. But when the Ice Age came and when it receded, they sent them up there to go check on the people, because people don't want to acknowledge the fact. So they just found recently, they found Nigerian Yoruba bones in the majestic burial grounds of indigenous England. Okay? So we know that these places were outposts of Africa, that they sent those people there. So when the Ice Age came and it closed them off, they can only, to survive, miscegenate with the Jotun, with the ice giants, right? The Neanderthal. That's how they get the Neanderthal in them. Mm-hmm. So now when Hannibal and them show up, the men are like, take this woman because I can't feed her. It's been nothing but ice here for the last how many years? Take her. So they take the white women with them. And this is where you see those paintings with the white women with the collars around their necks, and you see the Moors holding them, right? Mm-hmm. So they brought them back to the middle, what you would call Mediterranean. They start making babies with them. But now you're making babies with people who are not an ethnic group, because these niggas all came from someplace else. They all got kicked out of someplace else. So now they're making children, and this is where you start to see the people with the large noses and the olive skins and all of that, the grafted man. Now he got the Neanderthal in him. African don't got that. He got some other shit in him now. You understand? So now these people, they start to maraud. And so they start to make up these walls and they start to fight these people. Before you know it, they start taking over. They start to kill the griot. And now they're telling you about Muhammad or Jesus Christ or Abraham. They're selling you that shit now. And in order to get down to get a job, you got to get down with them. See, because John Henry Clark talked about this a million years ago. He talked about the fact that Islam slid into Africa under the guise of, we're going to keep the white boys out. And then they flipped on them. So now we're going back to the first masjid is in Canton, China. What did China have? A great wall to keep the Mongolians out. What are the Mongolians? They're a bunch of motherfucking savages that got thrown out of the society. So what we see is these three major religions, they have these laws and all of these things because they're based on people who need laws because they're lawless, right? They're lawless and they have no sense of etiquette. So this is why their major religion, the first one, all of a sudden their God is a real estate agent. I got this land just for you. What? My God ain't no real estate agent and he ain't no fashion designer. So I don't need no regalia and I don't need no specific place for me to be with God. You telling me that only this land God come and talk over here? Sound crazy. So there's these questions that the average person that follows the Abrahamic faith don't question. So they say to yourself, so you made God, you made Jesus, right? And he sacrificed him to who? Who he sacrificed him to? Because you make sacrifice to a greater good. So who did God sacrifice his only begotten son to? That's number one. Number two, if he's so perfect, why he can't make another Jesus better than he can't make a 2.0?
It's coming. You gotta wait on it.
Word.
Like the Optimum robot. Right.
Word. But he was with a 9-year-old, right?
2.0.
Okay, so understanding that my deity my creator don't have these issues. I don't gotta go back to Nigeria to worship Orisha. I worship him here. And wherever I go, I'm gonna worship him. I'm gonna bring him with me. Because my God is not a real estate agent. I don't have to dress a certain way because my God is not a fashion designer. Because if I was the case, I would have came here with a wardrobe bag in my placenta. Now, getting into that segue. The words in Orisha for negativity in your reading is called Osogbo. Osogbo. Oso means to tie. Bo means everything. Everything's tied. But it's also the same word the Yorubas use for their placenta. So that means that you came here with your bullshit.
Tied to your bullshit.
You came here with your bullshit. So the old custom was to take the placenta and bury it under a tree. And every time you had a problem, your family would go feed the tree so that it would feed your fucking problems so that you could escape from them. So, Osogbo, everything is tied. It means that you're in a situation that you cannot escape. Right? Give you an example. You got a baby mother. She got a hot little sister 17, 18. You knock she down. She pregnant. You ain't getting out of that. You got to face that. You're going to have to tell your baby mama you knocked her sister down. Ain't no way to get out of that. You in it. You understand? That's Osogbo. Because there's no way to escape that. You're going to have to live with the truth that you slept with your baby mama little sister. Period. Because she's pregnant. You understand?
Right.
And so our concept of morality has to deal with our society. So this is why it becomes very gray. Why gangsters and people of on the outskirts of society find their way to this, because this doesn't have a moral code like that. So that I could be like, you could say, oh, well, you sell drugs, and I could be like, yeah, but being black was illegal at one time too. So how do I rectify that? And there's a circumstance that happens in our tradition that I'm not allowed to divulge. But when one goes through that situation, you will understand your morality. I promise you. And your morality is the first thing that you're supposed to do is survive. Because the universe works off a big fish, eat little fish till little fish grow horns. Period. That's why I said the story is cotton was soft and they keep eating my children. He said, all right, eat this. Now you grow thorns. Do something about it. Right? So the Odu that they said that we brought all over here was an Odu of betrayal. Our brothers sold us here. That's a betrayal. And then they sold us here. And then the real deal was there was black people who were free. And when the cotton gin was made, they went and go and snatched all of them free black folks up and put them into slavery. See, because they wasn't bringing niggas back and forth for the cotton industry. That had stopped. They had already outlawed you bringing ships of niggas here. So there were black people in all over the place that were free. And this is where they start having the slave catchers. They start going and snatching niggas up. That's what that whole 12 years of slave shit was about. He was free. He didn't know nothing about being a slave. The niggas were like, dude, now you go ahead and you're going to fuck with this cotton. Because when the cotton gin came in, it changed the world. So that black people are responsible for fashion in the universe. Cotton. The houses of Chanel, they're born on slavery. It's the threads, the textiles. So that the other commodity that they brought us here for was something that they call lube, and it was indigo dye.
Indigo dye, yes, South Carolina.
No, it was made in Yoruba land. It comes from a vegetable.
Yes.
And so they used to make the textile from the vegetable, the juice of the vegetable that makes everything that it touches, it stains it.
Yeah.
And so they brought that with them.
They brought that to the Gullah Geechee.
Okay. So this is why they paint the houses paint blue.
Paint blue, right.
Right?
That's where the whole denim comes
that
from.
color is a color of royalty. So if you ever remember as a kid when they had the alphabet and they got the king and the queen, they got the K for the king, and the king got that leopard pelt with the purple robe. Purple was the color of majesty. Lube. Shango is associated with that. He's the one he merchant that to the world. Right? And then the leopard. The leopard skin is what connects all secret societies of the world. So when you see the mason standing on the checkerboard floor, that checkerboard floor is a representation of the leopard's pelt. So that all kings and queens were given the leopard pelt. When we go back, so let's go back, because you was there, Congo before Kemet. And I talk about Bess. And Bess, who's a pygmy, is the father of Kemet. And he had a leopard pelt and feathers in his hair. He was from Congo. Right? It's the leopard pelt. Till this day, the Twa, when they do their ceremonies, they put the leopard skin on and they get possessed with it. So this is what connects what happens in the Americas, because the jaguar, how did he get here? How did he get here? No. He's a leopard who changed because he had no enemies here. See, because the leopard got to deal with the lion over there in Africa. But in the Amazon, he by himself, he ain't got no predator. So he grew bigger. Right. Now, he's apex because in Yoruba society, the word door is called Ile-kun. The word Ekun is the leopard. They made a door to keep the leopard out, because before that, the leopard would sneak in your house and steal your baby while you were sleeping. Everything about this tradition is about the leopard. When they paint us in initiation, they paint us for us to imitate the leopard. Fifi okan wini kide kun ocha ade kun Oronius is the Orishas wear the crowns of leopards on their heads. Because the leopard skin represents the nighttime sky, all the spots in it. Because the leopard don't sleep on the ground, it sleeps inside of a tree. Right. And so in Yoruba theology, we believe that there's a sun in the center of the earth. And that sun is emitting electromagnetic pulses to influence us. We lay down on the ground horizontally and are affected by it. But the leopard, the monkey, the serpent, or the python, the snail, they all live in a tree. They're not affected by the electromagnetism of the earth. They get their electromagnetism from the sun.
Peace, love, and light again. It's Brother Blue, Port live and direct. This is the conclusion of an amazing, epic part 2 interview. One Up on the Frequency, all right? Setting the record straight with none other then Brother Oba. All right, we got our good brother Chris, and we have KB the Ghetto Shaman, right, who put together this amazing production for us. Real quick, Brother Chris, man, introduce yourself to some of these people who may not know the powerhouse behind the camera.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep this short, but most people don't know my face unless you were there back in the day when we started this renaissance of the conscious community back in 2002. And I call it a renaissance because it seemed like the conscious community was stagnant for a while prior to the 9/11 thing, you know.
Facts.
Phil actually came out with a lecture. But anyway, long story short, Eye Opener Productions came about by Brother Shabazz.
Shout out, bro.
Shout out Brother Shabazz. And myself, who wanted to get Phil to do a lecture for me. Actually, it was an intimate setting, like just a few people, him being, you know, being able to talk like, what was the video he did, Dark Matter Paradigm?
Yes.
Something to that effect. So I called him, I got in touch with Phil through, the story goes, I got in touch with Phil through you, Paul, UP More Blue Pill, you know what I'm saying? Who in turn put me in contact with Black Dot, that's how I met Black Dot.
Right.
And then Black Dot connected me with Phil Valentine.
Shabazz,
and then I brought Shabazz in. Shabazz said he's a videographer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Shut up.
He really wasn't, but he was you know, he did his thing. You know what I'm saying?
We got Eye Opener
He did
Productions.
it, yeah.
Right.
You know, he was selling VHS tapes. He was the man. He had Brooklyn on the Smash. You know,
Smash.
selling the VHS tapes to all the conscious different, you know, conscious community people.
Well, I
So
got
we,
my first VHS.
yeah, exactly. Me too. You know what I mean? So we commissioned, you know, him to come on board. So he actually put me under his umbrella, Eye Opener Productions. We did the lecture 2002. The first lecture we did was Raw, Real, and Relative at the Fort Greene Senior Citizen Center on Fulton Street. Fulton and Fulton and Grand.
Right.
And after that, man, that day Doc became a part of the you know, Eye Opener team because he stepped up and, you know, became the masters of ceremony. So we became a triad, and you know, we started a movement that carried on for years. Between the Fort Greene Senior Citizen Center to the Brown Chocolate Cafe to Long Island University.
Right.
And that's when, you know, you were there all the time. You know, Red came later on, you know what I mean? Because he was in Florida at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, we had a tight-knit community of people, especially in the beginning, older people that would only come to our lectures that was spilled over from the last generation of consciousness, from First World and, you know,
African Echoes.
yeah, African Echoes and all that in Jersey and all that.
Generation that we
Yeah.
brought in the young, you know, the more youthful.
Right. So
attendance and-
I was worried for a long time because I'm like, we getting the old fogies, you know what I mean? Where's the young people? Where's that new energy? I wanted my vision for this was to get the young people to gravitate towards it because, you know, I seen how, you know, the young people was out of control. You know, they needed some type of consciousness, some type of awakening. So eventually when we started, you know, doing we did the Melanin Chronicles, we did conferences, weekends. So we did a lot of stuff with a lot of people. You name it. Whoever was a master teacher back then, as we called it, we had them in LIU. You know what I mean? So, you know, we all came up.
Can you name a few?
Yeah, I can name C. Freemanel, Bobby Hemmett, Phil Valentine, even Dr. Ray Higgins came through. He was powerful. Delbert Blair. Who else?
That's what I first
yeah.
seen.
Brother
Francis
Aline Bay, Nakeem Bay. You know, we had a bunch of Francis Crest Wilson, yeah.
Right.
It was a bunch of people, man. Dr. Africa, Laila Africa, invited to him because he passed on. We actually did classes with him. You know, we didn't just do lectures. We actually brought him up and to do classes.
And so forth and so on.
You know what I mean? So we had a lot of people, man. You know, Brother Dawood, as controversial as he was.
And
you know what I mean?
yeah, and then we built the stage, and AA came home.
Yeah, he came home, and you know, he took the baton, you know, brothers was running. You know what I'm saying? Doing what they had to do, building themselves up, and adding, you know,
Yeah,
as pieces to the puzzle to make it fit.
I remember my initial reason, my why, right? Again, same in the background, me saying, yo, I need to see younger people, because I heard the pleas of the elders downtown in particular. He said, I don't want to die with this information.
Yeah, you want to pass it on.
And it sounded like my grandfather, who was always imbuing me with his information, because he's like, I don't want to die with this.
Right. Yeah.
I need this.
Yeah.
So I looked at Valentine in that same perspective, like grandfatherly.
Yeah. It's a generational thing.
Yeah.
You have to pass
Right.
down what the elders had, just like the elders passed down their information to them. They had to pass it down to us, and then we had to in turn pass it down to other people. And if we gatekeep and only keep older people, it's going to die with them.
Preaching to
You know
the
what I'm
choir.
saying?
So we back to the
We back to the, you know what I mean?
back to the memory.
Yeah, back to the memories.
I wanna speak on the ancestor, Hafisa, right?
Sister Hafiz.
Right.
Hafisa, A.A. Rashid's mother. I was going to see A.A. with her repeatedly. You know what I'm saying? And just seeing the toll that these things have, you know, on the Umis, holding it down. And she was doing it in everything. I said I got introduced to this tradition, was through his mother. So, yeah, I just, you know, I was like, if we don't create an alternative, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What can we expect? That he gonna come home and do something different?
Right.
And he was putting all of those productions together, forming in his mind towards consciousness, but it crystallized because he had a product now.
He was writing books.
Yeah, he was writing books, and I was like, yeah, I need to do whatever I can to help, you know, promote what he's doing on positive versus what I know was waiting for him when he get home. So that was the impetus, and it grew into something galactic.
Salute to A,
You know
man.
what I'm saying?
Salute
Something
to A.
galactic.
We love it, brother.
Yes, sir.
He's been a perfect prime example.
6 books in now.
Yeah. He inspired Oba to write his first book.
6
this
books
big,
in, baby.
Yeah.
So, right, so you open the door for one person, and another person comes and they open the door for a plethora of people, and then so on and so forth. You know, so when they be like, one man can't change the world, granted, maybe, but an idea will live forever. And it starts, you know, rolling and opening up, you know, again, all of these different layers and lanes. And, you know, now we have the ability to go down whatever your preferred lane is, you know what I'm saying, and hopefully get some direction on your journeys. And, you know what I mean, I gather that tonight's conversation will hopefully do that for somebody in this audience.
I'm sure it will.
In perpetuity, you know, for as long as these videos exist, may they continue to open eyes and shed light, you know what I'm saying? And may the ancestors continue to speak through you as a vessel to help point people in directions. Because I was on a mat recently, and they told me that I won't be responsible for all of the people that I have misdirected in my day, finding myself, pulling people along with me and misdirecting them. I had to own that. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important, it's imperative for, like he said, for people's soul hygiene to really find out who you are, whose you are, and why you are, and stop freestyling.
That's
right?
the most important thing.
Because there's it's a detrimental, you know what I'm saying? You out there, it's literally the blind leading the blind, but you're gonna end up in a ditch somewhere with all kind of souls in your pocket responsible for their misdirection as well.
Rites of passage for a reason.
Serious job.
Rites of passage for a reason.
It's a serious
It's not to
obligation.
play with. The word Ashe is nothing to play with. Comparing yourself to Oshun is nothing to play with. You know what I mean? Talking
None
about
of this is
Orishas
nothing to
and
play
spirits,
with.
nothing to play with.
Nothing to play with.
You know, so y'all have to really, you know, understand that initiation is the reason for initiation of rites of passage. And if you mess around and say, you know, you could read a book and do it yourself, then you gotta, you know,
You can't make sense of a literal tradition, literally out of oral tradition.
Right.
you can't take something literal out of an oral tradition. It's an oral tradition. So if you read it, you missed it.
You missed it.
Feel me?
And with that being said,
With that,
brother,
you wasn't in the building.
Yeah.
For this one.
Once again, thank Brother Oba.
thank you for welcoming
Yeah,
us into
No,
your-
thank Blue Pill too. I gotta
Yeah,
thank
Blue Pill is the
Blue Pill
journalist.
again.
But you
But
know,
we
in the
are
temple.
we
in the
are
temple.
in
Yeah.
Brother Omar's abode, and thank you for allowing us to have this here.
Yeah.
It's a very special
And
place.
right, because all amazing things that we talk about in community, all amazing things that we talk about in life are the result of collaboration. You know what I'm saying?
And so on that, real Ashe.
We are the sum total of one another.
Hope to.
I appreciate y'all.
Already.
Yo.
Hope to. It's good seeing you.
Yeah.
Collaboration.
Collaboration.
Competition.
That's key.
Anytime.
The roving reporter.
2.0.
Already.
Peace.
You smoking reefer?